Arch Enemy has a new album and a new guitarist whose name is Joey Concepcion, and I want to see if he took the band in the right direction. Today I'm talking about the new album by Arch Enemy called Blood Dynasty, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how the band changed their sound on Blood Dynasty compared to their previous album, Deceivers. I'm going to talk about the stylistic elements that define the Blood Dynasty album. I'll talk about how the guitar playing of Joey Concepcion shaped the album, and I want to talk about how Alyssa White-Gluz is using some new vocal approaches. There's also a very unique song in French that I want to talk about, and I want to focus on the use of clean vocals in one particular song, and then I end with my final thoughts and score. Blood Dynasty is the 12th studio album by Swedish melodic death metal band Arch Enemy. The album was released on March 28th, 2025, and it's their first studio album to feature the guitarist Joey Concepcion, following the departure of Jeff Loomis, who left the band in 2023. First, I want to discuss how the band changed on Blood Dynasty compared to their previous album, Deceivers. I think the biggest difference was the shift towards a more old school sound and a more aggressive sound. I think they went for more aggression and less a melodic approach. I think you can hear elements of the classic sound on many of the tracks. For example, there was a single Dream Stealer that had a very old school sound, and I would even say some of the guitar riffs were reminiscent of thrash metal. Then there was another track called March of the Miscreants, which had that classic Gothenburg melodic death metal style. And in addition, there was a single Liars and Thieves, which had that throwback sound with lots of aggressive guitar playing and rapid fire drum beats. I think the one person who helped the band return to more of an old school sound is the new guitarist, Joey Concepcion. His guitar playing is a little more aggressive and it had more of a classic style, so I'm pretty sure he studied a lot of the songs from the early albums, and you can definitely hear that in his guitar playing. Another thing we should take into account is that Deceivers was a good album, but a lot of songs on the album Deceivers were pretty similar. So on this album, Blood Dynasty, I think they made an attempt to put a lot more variety in the songs, where some songs are a lot heavier and faster, and others are slower and more melodic, but they did it in a way to keep a very cohesive sound. It's the kind of album you want to listen to from front to back, as the songs have a natural flow to them. Another thing they did was balance the aggression and the melody. So if you're a fan of their older albums, the ones with Angela Glasgow, there are songs that sound more like that. Or if you're a fan of their newer albums with Alyssa White on vocals, there are songs for that. I want to talk about how the guitar playing of Joey Concepcion really shaped this album, and I think the main things to take into consideration is that he brought in more aggression, and there was a difference in the guitar tone. I think his guitar tone can be heard throughout most of the songs, and I think it can be compared to a lot of songs from a lot of the earlier albums. But at the same time, new guitarist Joey is really talented, and he can play melodic leads when it's required by the song. So his guitar playing really makes a difference, as he has the two sides to his playing. Before I continue, I want to let you know that this channel has memberships. The first tier is only 99 cents a month, and it gives you early access to my videos, as I sometimes post videos up to a week in advance. The second tier is $2.99, and you get early access in addition to the benefit of making review requests, so you can request anything as long as it is within the scope of this channel. There's a join button down below, and there's a link in the video description. I want to talk about the different vocal approaches that Alyssa White-Gluz uses on Blood Dynasty, because over the course of the last few albums, we've seen her vocal style evolve. So for example, she still has a lot of harsh growls and screeches that can be heard on tracks like Dream Stealer, but she also does some deep guttural vocals that you can hear on the track March of the Miscreants. But if you remember the previous album, Deceivers, it has her doing more clean vocals, and this album also has clean vocals, and you can hear that in different parts, in different songs, such as the title track, Blood Dynasty, and the track Illuminate the Path, which is a very good deep cut, and I will delve deeper into that song later. But I also want to talk about Paper Tiger, where she does these heavy metal style vocals, and I thought those vocals really added a different dimension to the album sound. One song that really stood out on the album was called Vivir Libre. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's something that's kind of unexpected. I don't think Arch Enemy has ever done anything like that before. The song's a cover, and it's the only cover on this album. It was originally written and performed by a band called Blaspheme, which is a French band that formed back in the 80s, And I actually talked about them during a video I did about the French metal scene in the early 80s, and you can find that on my channel as part of my Discovering Metal Bands series from other countries. And it's also a power ballad, which is something I don't think Arch Enemy has ever done. I can't really think off the top of my head if I know of any other ballads. If you know, let me know in the comments. And I don't think it's something that's common in melodic death metal. Again, if you know, let us know if you know any ballads in the comments. But the song is sung entirely in French, and Alyssa is able to pull it off even though French is not her native language. And also at first they were going to keep it as a bonus track or a hidden track, but guitarist Michael Amat wanted it to be on the album, and I thought it was a nice change of pace. It really worked within the context of the album, and I thought the bass guitar was very audible on this track, which is something that was missing throughout the album. And what's also funny is that right after the song, they followed it up with a song called Pendulum, which is really heavy, so there's this nice contrast between the soft ballad and the very heavy song. And I want to talk about the importance of the clean vocals on the song Illuminate the Path. I think it's a good idea to use clean vocals on this song because it's a pretty heavy song, but they do the clean vocals and it comes in at a time where it takes you by surprise, because it brings this melodic component to the album, and it really makes the song being both catchy as well as aggressive, because it makes the song more memorable and more likely to get stuck in your head. I think it's a good idea, and I think she's able to do clean vocals very well, and it contrasts very well with her heavier vocals, and it helps make the song more memorable and less monotonous. So in conclusion, I think the addition of Joey Concepcion was a positive one. I know Jeff Loomis is a really great guitarist, but I think this guy Joey is good. I think this album shows the band's musical evolution, probably slightly better than Deceivers, but at the same time I wasn't completely blown away. I think it's just a solid Arch Enemy album. My score is an 8 out of 10. If you want to hear my thoughts on the previous album, Deceivers, I will stick that right there. I reviewed that when it came out a few years ago. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. Please give the video a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.